What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the High Life Reel. I'm Bill Rom,
I'm Josh Shapiro.
and let's get us kicked off with the headliner. Headliner this week is centered around college football. So one of the topics that we had in one of our previous shows was that I felt like if Ohio State beat Wisconsin, they would end up in the college football playoff because they had a better resume. Turns out Alabama's in.
Wrong.
What do you think about Alabama being in?
So I was watching the college selection show, and a lot of their theories were the same thing that you had, saying that with the big wins that Ohio State has had this year, even though some of their losses that they've taken that were blowouts, they showed that they're someone to be reckoned with. They're a team that should be in the Final Four. Alabama's strength of schedule this year, as we all have known, was honestly, frankly,
Trash.
weak. Yeah, it was weak.
Trash.
Yeah, so a lot of the guys thought that Ohio State deserved to be in. But at the end of the day, they weren't in. So the thing going back and forth was, is it the strength of schedule, or is it you putting the best four teams out there? And is Alabama a better team than Ohio State, which I think they are?
See, but that's the thing. You can't tell me that you know that Alabama's a better team when Alabama's only team they faced that was a top 15 team was Auburn, and Auburn beat them.
Yeah.
So that's the only top 15 you play. Auburn beats you. Auburn had 2 losses, beats you. Auburn goes into the SEC championship game, gets smoked by Georgia, right? So now we're looking at the situation, and we're like, okay, Alabama's not in the top 3 teams in their conference. They have no wins inside the top 15. Their strength of schedule is overall weak. And then you go into Ohio State. Ohio State has a bad loss to a conference rival in Iowa. Bad. They lose to the number 2 team going into the college football playoff, Oklahoma. Right? Baker Mayfield and them come in, win the game. That team is a quality team. I have to give Ohio State props for the fact that they put together a schedule that was made to make it into the college football playoff.
That's fair.
They didn't do something to just be like, hey, we should be in because we have a name. Alabama literally was just like, hey, our conference is good enough. We'll play our conference and we'll get in. And it's trash. You didn't challenge yourself at all. And the one time you needed to play big. End of the season, you should be playing your best football. And what does Ohio State do? They put up wins and they put up stuff that gets them in the playoff. You beat a number 4 seed Wisconsin to win your conference. You're playing your best football at the end of the year. Alabama, last game they played was a loss. Mm-hmm. And it's when you should be, hey, win and you're in the college football playoff. Lose, you're out. And they lost. I think you have to take Alabama out. You now look at it, they're going to play in the first round against Clemson, who comes in as the 1 seed. I think that Clemson looked amazing. And I don't know if Alabama's going to win. Now, Alabama's got great coaches. But this is a big test also for Clemson. If Clemson's able to pull off this victory and they win another conference championship, Clemson program has to be looked at as the best program in college football right now. Yeah. There's not a program that's better. You look back to Deshaun Watson. You look back to them winning a title. You look now into this team getting there again and being the 1 seed coming in. They're as good as any program. It's Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson right now as the teams that make it every year.
Yeah, it's interesting because Clemson, I feel like, flies under the radar a little bit. Alabama is the big boy, and I'm happy. I was happy. I was hoping they were not going to be in it because I'm tired of seeing Alabama. Yeah. I think it gets tiring for the college football playoff. Is every year Alabama's in it. Every year Alabama's in it, no matter what their record is. Like you said, again, it all goes back to the thing is a lot of what the analysts were saying was that what the committee did was actually politically not like they didn't go politically correct route, which would have been putting Ohio State in there. They felt, and everybody feels, that Alabama has better talent than Ohio State. Now, listen. That's talent-wise. That's not win-wise. So again, it goes back to the wishy-washy and the gray lines of what is more important. Is it talent? But at the same time, right? You go into any other sport, does talent win you championships? Yes, but at the same time, just because you have talent doesn't mean you make the playoffs.
Right, but
on paper doesn't mean anything on the field.
When you're looking at college sports, though, how do you tell me that this Alabama team's got more talent when they played nobody and when they played somebody they lost? And Ohio State has big comeback win against Penn State, right? They have a win against Wisconsin. They've gotten big wins and played tough, hard matchups against other teams. Mm-hmm. Alabama hasn't. And to say just, hey, they're better. They have better talent. Why? Ohio State's recruiting classes the last few years are the best that there is. Their recruiting class for this incoming freshman class is absolutely ridiculous. And you know Jeremy. And, the talent that team is getting across the nation, they're going to be unreal.
Jeremy's a freak.
Jeremy's on ESPN the other day, and Chris Carter is doing it. Actually, shout out to Jeremy Ruckert. Won Heisman Trophy, or not the Heisman, the Hanson Award last night for the best player on Long Island.
Wow.
Won the award, best wide receiver. Going to be an All-American. Going to play in the Army All-American game, Polynesian Bowl. He's going everywhere. He's playing in everything he possibly can. So Ohio State's got a bright future, and that's why it's hard for me to look at it and say, okay, Alabama deserves in. And that leads me into the next part of college football. We got our Heisman finalists. And our Heisman finalists, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Bryce Love, running back from Stanford. This is the weakest Heisman I can remember. And people might disagree with me, like, Jackson won the Heisman last year. Has similar numbers that he had last year. I just look at this, and it seems like Baker Mayfield is going to win.
You know my vote.
But I think that after what we talked about with Baker Mayfield and the disrespect he showed multiple times this year, I think it will hurt his vote, but he's not competing against anybody. I don't feel like there was anyone with a strong case. Everyone talked about Darnold might be in there, all these people, and none of those big name threats have been there. And it seems like it's Baker Mayfield's to walk away with, and that's difficult for college football. I think Saquon Barkley should have had a shot at being in this competition.
That guy's a freak.
And you led Penn State to a huge run.
Yeah.
And to think that you're out and another running back's in, and that team's got a worse record. Like, I don't know.
Well, you know my vote's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to win with ease, even though Lamar Jackson had a great year. I just think Baker Mayfield's a year. But I understand what you're saying, that it's a little tarnished. It was different when it was like comparing Tim Tebow to Baker Mayfield. In terms of the Heisman and how the award is supposed to be about, it's kind of weird to even put the two in the same award when Tim Tebow, as you know, is a totally different animal than Baker Mayfield in terms of how he handles himself on and off the field.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to Baker Mayfield, but they're two different people. So
Yeah.
It's interesting to see two guys like that both win awards in this, within a somewhat recent span.
If Baker wins the college football playoff, he deserves the Heisman.
But does the playoffs really matter towards the Heisman?
No. And that's my point. Like,
It's like, does the playoffs matter for an MVP race?
Baker's got other issues that I think pull away and detract from it, but I can't look at Jackson's team. Louisville went 8-4. USC Stanford had a strong season, but you just lost to USC. You're not in the top 10 teams. You got Baker as the only guy who's in the top 10 team, who's even in the finalist conversation. That's why, to me, it's a very difficult year where you don't have a guy who's a star, who's also in the college football playoff outside of Baker Mayfield. So it's got to be Baker Mayfield. You have a top 4 team, and you're the starting quarterback, Heisman. And it seems matter of fact about it, but it also, to me, is more an indictment on the voting and who they put in there and why people are in. And it seems like a weak class. And I'm not a huge fan of how college football played out this year. I think we're going to have a good playoff because I think there's some good teams.
Yeah.
But I just, college football, to me, disappointing end to an otherwise, it's been a good season in terms of games and drama and the things that go on. For me, for my likes, a little disappointing.